Ever since 1995, the Vuelta España has been contested towards the end of the season. The result, this baby brother of the big two in France and Italy, has matured into an event which now stands on its own 2 feet. Hello again to you all, I'm Phil Liggett, and with me I hope you enjoy the 1999 and the 54th Tour of Spain. The race route this year is a real tough one. 21 stages plus a prologue and 2 more time trials. There are 5 mountaintop finishes during the 3,480 kilometres journey around the country. Our story begins in Murcia in the southeast and finishes as always in Madrid, the country's capital. The stars are here. Names like Alex Zülle from Banesto, the winner in 1996 and 97. Abraham Olano from Once, who won last year. Fernando Escartin, the Kelme hope, who has finished second in 97 and last year. And there's Frank Vandenbroucke from Belgium, a surprise entry who says he is training for the World Championships. Jan Ullrich, the Tour de France winner of 1997, and Pavel Tonkov, who normally stars in the Giro d'Italia. And let's not forget either the world number 1 Laurent Jalabert, who won this race in 1995. And at a cost of some $450,000 to the city of Murcia, we're now underway on the 54th Tour of Spain. And this is Igor Gonzalez Galdeano, an early start on what is a full day here. And his time has been tremendous around the course, but he is amongst the early riders. This will go into the night, this race, and there's the time for everybody to beat. The first man inside 7 minutes for the 6 kilometres, 6:58.4. Now, what can Santiago Blanco do? Much more expected from him, and big hopes for his team, Vitalicio, on a race which is very important to this team. But now you can see the weather has changed, and Santiago Blanco is down. Well, he was going into that corner with such great caution. He's up quick enough, but that's going to have shocked him. Plenty of help at hand. And while he sorts himself out, but it's not going to be a good day now, I think, for the stars, because the rain is coming down in the city. Here's an aerial view of another rider going down. And I've no idea who that is, but he's gone for a quick spin as well. Well, the riders now are fearful of conditions as darkness falls. This was meant to be a big spectacle here in the city, but the weather has not been with the organisation. As shades of the Tour de France back in 1995 in Saint-Brieuc, which was a surprise victory there for Jackie Duron. This is Alex Zülle, and he couldn't take that corner much more slowly, could he? If he's thinking of Saint-Brieuc, he fell off and lost some 10 seconds in that particular prologue in the Tour de France, which took out Chris Boorman from the event after just about a mile of racing. Manolo Saez, the team director of Once here, is chasing home his charge. World champion time trialist Abraham Olano, last year's winner and wearing number 1. The last rider to start in the prologue, and all of the stars have come and gone and faded miserably. Now Galdeano is back in his hotel, and if this time is slower, they're going to have to get him out pretty quickly and bring him up for the presentation. As Olano races towards the line, it's going to be close. He's aiming at 6:58, so he has taken some risk before his home crowd. The city of Murcia now will be feeling a little bit vindicated. Conditions have dried slightly. 150 metres to go. I don't think that's enough time. 6:58.4 is the time he's aiming at. It's going to fall short by a second or 2. So Abraham Olano will get second on the line. There it is. So a surprise early leader in the Vuelta España as Olano goes into second spot. And there we have the result of the time trial. Pancake flat, Olano second. Martin Perdiguero, you see another surprise there, third. And Hoy of Denmark in 4th place. It's no longer an Amarillo jersey this year. We call it the Golden Race Leaders jersey. And on there, it's found a surprise home, at least for the start. But a good start too for the Vitalicio team, although they were saddened by the fall there of Santiago Blanco. The city of Murcia, tucked away in the southeast corner of Spain, now bathed in sunshine after it threw everything it could at the prologue of the Vuelta last night. Everybody back on the beach enjoying themselves as we now prepare for a circuit of the city, 179 kilometres, one of the rare chances this year for the sprinters to succeed. And you'd hardly think we'd had bad weather yesterday, would you? Small breakaway. Jackie Giron is one of the riders clear here as they try to stay ahead. But the field rapidly approaching the breakaway here now. Their lead down to 6 minutes. Jackie Giron in his Lotto colours now, and the man with his hand up is Cesar Calvio, or Garcia Calvio. And that's unlucky for Jackie because he's being left to fry on his own now. A front wheel change for the Fuenlabrada rider, and not surprisingly they all came back together as we're now on a sprint for the line here just on the outskirts of the city. And this looks like Nico Martin of the Cofidis team, who's trying to trick the sprinters and get away off the front, and he's giving it just about everything he's got here, and he doesn't seem to be going too far away from the pack. Surely the sprinters aren't going to allow this one to get away. Unfortunately, Mario Cipollini had to withdraw from the event due to the difficult birth of his child, and he stayed with his wife naturally enough, and so not a starter in this year's Vuelta. But there are plenty of other good sprinters. It is Martin. Looks rather like the finish to a Paris Tours classic there, just for a moment as he came over the river. But this is into the city of Murcia. And the bunch there huddled together with the wind bashing them from the right as we look at the picture. And he's decided it is totally fruitless into the wind. He's gone too soon. And the train is working the way up towards him. Now there are some big names for sprinters in here, like Robbie McEwen and Marcel Wust. Wust loves the Vuelta, and he said the Giro d'Italia, but loves the Tour of Spain. Under the 1 kilometre to go now, a sharp and tricky right-hand bend. And I thought I heard, and I did, I heard a touch of metal. There's been a huge pile up there, a huge crash. A number of riders are down. We'll try and see who they are. And that in the Farmfleet colours, and blaming somebody else from the Lotto team there is Jerome Blijlevens, who obviously was right in for the kill. And one big sprinter's gone out and not at all happy with the situation. And I think the rider he was blaming there was one of the Lotto boys. But let's get back up to the front now, because Ullrich, also from Farmfleet, has got clear in the melee. And a number of riders are just ahead here. So Sergei Ullrich is clear, and that's Robbie McEwen shot up on the left now, and in the middle is Robbie Hunter, the South African rider. They're checking over to see if they've gone too soon. Marcel Wust and the Festina are coming up very quickly, but Robbie McEwen is set fair here. He's on the right and waiting, and watch out for Robbie Hunter. They go again. Ullrich on the left, Hunter in the middle, McEwen digging deep. The sprinters are not going to get on, but there are two pretty good ones here, and this could be a first ever win for South Africa. Robbie Hunter on the first day of his first Vuelta España has taken the stage. The 22-year-old from Johannesburg, and well he might enjoy this, because he had a great Milan-San Remo in a breakaway, then took a little time out with a knee strain. Now he's back, very much so. So the Lamprey score to South African Robbie Hunter. That will do his career the world of good. The overall lead today passes, though, to Jackie Giron by virtue of that long breakaway. He pushes Galdiano Gonzalez back to 2 seconds, and Abraham Olano still in the frame, 3 seconds off the pace. So on to stage 2 now, from Alicante, just inland from the coast, heading further inland to Albacete. And again, a flattish ride, but we're not far away from the hills. They come pretty soon on this year's Vuelta on stage 5. But today, the weather again has turned a little bit ugly as winter approaches. And this is Fabio Roscioli. We've had a long break for most of the day, some 13 riders. Got away after 27 kilometres, but they're all back in the pack now. And Fabio Roscioli, only one win for him this year. He too is now back in the field as we start the run in towards the finish. So the sprinters, can Robbie Hunter triumph again here? He took his chance well yesterday. A little bit of confusion by that pile-up, which projected 3 very good men, so they must have been near the front when the crash happened. This time it looks clean as they come off the bottom bend here now. Zanini is in there, so too again is the orange jersey of Robbie McEwen. A as once more Festina all looking around here, and goodness knows why. Jerome Blijlevens is in there somewhere off to the left, I think, as the sprint starts. Now that's Zanini in second wheel. Giovanni Lombardi is the telecom rider who's trying to take it apart here, and he's up to speed right now, but Zanini leaving his run in second place as long as he possibly can. And this is a tremendous lead out, and Zanini's looking good now for Mappe. Zanini hits the front here. Lombardi's right with him as they wrestle on the wheel. As look, Marcel Wust is through the middle. The German sprinter is coming clear of the field. He loves the Tour of Spain. I make that his 9th victory ever since he started riding this event. And Marcel Wust for Festina has opened his account. Zanini to the left of our picture. Lombardi, McEwen is the rider 4th there over the line. And Jerome Blijlevens probably a little bit shocked from the crash yesterday, only in 5th. Robbie Hunter, by the way, came through there well in 6th place. So an early win for Marcel Wust, man that speaks many languages, and he'll have no problem with Spanish. And another huge trophy. They specialize in those in Spain. And a very good win indeed for Marcel, as we see it again here. Clear victory too. Zanini, I thought, had read that just right. Marcel had timed it better. Thanks to the bonuses on the course, though, this man is still in the golden jersey, Jackie Durand, by 2 seconds over Galdiano Gonzalez and 3 over Abraham Olano. Hunter is there in 4th, also on 3 seconds. On we go to Fuenlabrada. And in reaching Fuenlabrada, the riders will have covered the longest stage of the Tour, 229 kilometres from La Roda. And again, the terrain undulating, but nothing too severe. And this man is making the most of it, heading towards his hometown. He rides for the team for Fuenlabrada. And Germán Nieto, who's never won a race in the 6 years he's been a professional. You saw his time gap, and that actually is coming down because he was up to over 23 minutes. He got away after some 35 kilometres. And this man, the golden jerseyed leader, Jackie Durand, on the first slight rise of the Tour, is in difficulty. Well, he said he wasn't fit. He was a little bit surprised to have claimed the leader's jersey in the opening days. And now he's paying the price, I feel. While Nieto, can you believe this? This man almost made it. He's 2 kilometres from the finish here as the field have swept him up. A tremendous breakaway of 190 kilometres. Well, he certainly did his sponsors proud today as he drops through the field now as the others scurry towards the front for the big sprint. And a little congratulations there from some of the Spanish riders. That's nice. For that great breakaway by Germán Nieto. And he's his teammate going to say, just hang on and finish with us. But we're going to the front of the bunch now as they line up for the finish. Jan Ullrich, their second wheel at the moment, beginning to show himself. Had a reasonable time trial in the prologue. Top 15 finish despite the conditions. And he's not a bad bunch sprinter either, but he's off the front now. As another telecom rider again tries to find Giovanni Lombardi, the perfect lead out. Watch for Wust, though. Wust is on Lombardi's wheel. 1 win already, and this win could be giving the race lead too as Marcel goes left. Nobody's got his speed at all. Marcel Wust on the line. Win number 2 this year. Win number 10 in all time in the Tour of Spain for Marcel. He just loves this event. Up on the crowd line, Giovanni Lombardi just hasn't got the sprint he used to have, the 1992 Olympic points champion in Barcelona. And the champagne bottles as big as ever, as Marcel now getting used to opening them here. And I think he'll be confirmed now as the race leader, because the sprinters have all claimed the top places now in the absence of Jackie Durand. There he is. And he's got a 9-second buffer over Robbie McEwen and 10 over Robbie Hunter. And Gonzalez Galdiano, who won the prologue, is still there in 4th place, while last year's winner, Abraham Olano, lies 5th. All smiles again for the German superstar. And so to the 4th day of the Vuelta España. It's a Wednesday. We're heading now from Las Rosas to Salamanca on the opposite side from where we all began. We're now on the west of Spain and the weather getting better by the day. The sprinters enjoying these early few days, but it'll all change tomorrow when we go into the mountains, I'm sure of that. This man has been the highlight of the day, Koos Murrenhout from the Rabobank team. His lead 9 minutes 20, and in the lead for the best part now of 100 kilometres. But during the escape, this is a switch down to the back of the field, the sad side here of the abandon of Laurent Jalabert, the Seiko rider who was fourth in the Tour de France. Has problems with the right leg, which he says is hurting, and he's pedalling literally only with his left leg, and so he's out of the race. And also going out with him there too, the Lotto rider Rick Verbrugge. Another little bit of a talent coming through, but gone from the Vuelta today. Two good riders, and there's a counter-attack going up the road here because Murrenhout is almost caught, and that's another Rabobank that's gone up the road, I'm sure of that. So it might be a good tactic. The field showing no resistance. The roads here long and straight and exposed in the wind, and often called for a very difficult stretch of racing. The crosswinds hurt the peloton here, and the Dutch are specialists in those winds. Now I think we're coming up here to Koos Murrenhout as he moves smoothly away, and there he is, and a little shout there from his teammate. But I think he's deciding enough is enough. That's Jan Boven who's gone by him. And Murrenhout decided no, 100 Ks is enough for me today as he goes back into the pack. Now, can Jan Boven start something here and get a little group away? As there goes Koos back into the field. And there's no reaction here. Festina, of course, having not just the job of leading out the sprint for Marcel Wust today, but also looking after him and make the pace, because they're the team now with the golden jersey on their shoulders. And if you can't make the pace at the front, then why not launch an attack? And this looks like Vladimir Belli here from Festina, who's trying to get clear of the field and taking with him a Lotto rider. Could well be Chris Piers, but they're working together. One or two riders shooting after them. There is Jan Boven, suddenly finding an express train coming by him and making no effort to jump on. Oh yes, he is, because he's seen another rider coming up and it's worth a dig. So the attack coming from Festina's belly, and that's a good move there, because everybody would have expected Festina to just keep an eye on Marcel Wust, and instead they're making the other riders take up the pace. Well, this is a very interesting mood indeed now, because getting onto the back of that is Laurent Jalabert. And I can't imagine I'll let the winner in 95 get too far away as the Rabobanks join forces. Jan Boven has gone on to the back there, and so has Bram de Groot, another member of the Netherlands Rabobank team. And this looks like Joe Plankert, who has just been involved in a smash at the back of the field and doesn't look at all well right now. He's hit his head, I think. So this is very unlucky for Joe Plankert. They've already lost one rider today in Verbrugge, and I would say, looking at that, almost certainly Joe Plankert is... Oh, no, he's not. No, he's not. He's back on his bike, and they're going to push him off. Little bit shaky, but he's going to try and make it to the finish. Well, good luck to him. As we regroup at the front, by the look of it now, all of the riders coming back together again. And the big lead out once more from Telecom. Can they at last get their man Lombardi to the line first? Another great lead out for him by Jan Ullrich, I think it is. But now here comes Lombardi, and here comes the yellow jersey of Wust. And Wust has too much speed in those legs. And again, Lombardi must be asking himself, what do I have to do to win a stage? This man is too quick. And Marcel Wust gets the stage, and that is a superb victory for him. And I reckon that that is the first three in a row since Eddie Plankert back in 1982. And Eddie won 4, I think. But Marcel has got 3. And of course, there's always a chance of another one to come tomorrow. But I'm not so sure about tomorrow, because we're in the hills tomorrow. But Marcel Wust, a couple of seconds bonus there, also consolidating his overall lead in the race now. So after some 19 hours of racing, he's up to 29 seconds advantage over Robbie Hunter. 34 seconds over, over Robin McEwen, 34 seconds over Robbie Hunter, and 39 seconds over Gonzalez Galdeano. And there is confirmation of all of that, with Olano in 5th place and still right up there, poised for a good journey through the hills to come. He could be the next Maillot Jaune. And looking further down, you see only seconds in it at the moment. But there's still, of course, a very long way to go in what should prove to be a very difficult Tour of Spain. But the smiles right now, Marcel Wust, 11 stage wins in all as we continue. And now we're in the mountains on stage 5 from Murcia into Benidorm. 4 of them, in fact, one a second category. The Portio is a first category. Then on to the Franquia, that's another first category and the high point of the day, taking them up to 1,500 metres. And Monsagro is the third category climb that brings them on towards the finish. And the atmosphere, a nervous one now, because the sprinters can forget it as the race starts to go into what should prove to be a most difficult Tour of Spain. There's the assembly down at the start line in Beja. And we join the action on the climb of the first mountain of the day. Excellent roads, long and fast, and some riders now prepared to drive here on the lower slopes of the Mongeraz, taking them up to just short of 1,000 metres. And Festina not wasting any time. Remember, they have the race leader on the team, but I think today Marcel Wust will have told his team, this is no longer for me, and it's time to take a back seat. And there you can see the beautiful roads here in Spain are hitting the high points now. And this is Laurent Jalabert here on the attack and riding extremely well. He's a very good climber, of course, in his pre-Black Festina days. Now trying to straighten himself out. And the rider on the move with him here is Rafael Diaz Justo. A gap initially 2 minutes 19 seconds. No wins this year for Laurent Jalabert. Trying to get some early points in the King of the Mountains competition. Last year's winner, Jose Jimenez, the last 2 years he's won the King of the Mountains competition. And the gap holding on here. Benesto, not surprisingly now, beginning to come to the fore as the climbers start to stretch their legs. But that peloton, not in a big hurry yet. A lot of riders still in that group together. Over the top then, and Brochard not challenged by Diaz, as he gets the first big points in this year's King of the Mountains competition. Now, can he keep it going? An awful long way still to go. Pulling off the dizzy heights there of what could have been taken as Mont Ventoux in Provence, but of course we are in Spain. And that's where we're headed now, up to the Alto de Mongeraz. 112 kilometers to go. That's about 69 miles to the finish still. And the peloton leaving this one very late indeed. So a nice tempo being set. They're allowing Brochard the chance to just have his head with Diaz Justo. A number of riders are in trouble already though, and we hear that Jan Zerada has retired, the sprinter who never showed us his sprint in the opening days. The gap still going up here for these two. It's a beautiful day for bike racing in central Spain. There's the man who always gets the best seat in the house. Just by twisting his rotors, he can see the bunch and the brake at any time he likes. Alex Zülle riding, well, Alex Zülle looks to me as though he's in a bit of trouble here, because that is the field disappearing up the road and there's no resistance coming from him. So the former winner of the Tour of Spain, Zülle, for Benesto, is in trouble. Winner in 96 and 97. They were his great years. Sergei Ivanov, the Russian national champion. As we go back up now to the top of the Portillo with 67 kilometers to go, and Brochard is stacking in the points for the King of the Mountains. The Once rider there, Diaz Justo, seems to be just a policeman, possibly hoping that Laurent Jalabert might come into the action pretty soon, and of course Abraham Olano. And here's the chase group now, and we're getting a nice select little group here, and it's without Alex Zülle. Massive crowd there. Now the capture, it appears, as group is coming up. We now hear that Andre Schmill and the injured Joe Plankett have also abandoned. So they've gone. Well, I've spotted Jalabert in this group, but I certainly haven't seen... not Jalabert, Olano rather. I haven't seen Jalabert. This is Frank Vandenbroucke here, who has gone over the top ahead of the field. Frank telling us he's come here to train for the World Championships. And hurting a few riders in the process. We didn't really expect to see him come over the top of the climb in first place, that's for sure. The next group, some 220 down now. And I'm just trying to see if in fact this is the group of Alex Zülle. But I have a feeling Alex wasn't there. He could be the first, and here he is now coming up the mountain. So he, I think, is the first big scalp of the Tour this year. At 3:25 and counting, Zülle has gone over the top. He's got a lot of work to do to close that down with just 50 kilometers to go to the finish, as the attacks again continue here now. And this rider coming through is Inigo Xaro Benedez of Spain, heading up towards the top of Monsagro. And this is the last climb of the day. It's only a third category, this one. He's wise not to continue because the peloton behind has blown apart now. So it started very sedately, but as the hills got more often, it started to crack up. Here comes Vandenbroucke. A beautiful bike rider when this man is on form, but you never quite know when that's going to be. 2 minutes 19 seconds back here to this group, and I'd love to see who's in it, but I can't help you at the moment. But we must be looking at it for a reason. Let's see if we can pick out anybody of importance here as we pan through. Well, that looks to me as though we might have, in fact, Laurent Jalabert in this group. Now, that's interesting. Jalabert is behind as we return now up towards the finish here, and this is Ullrich going for it. Jan Ullrich has just got his first win of the season in what is a group sprint of some 20-plus riders there. Now, the important thing is the clock is counting. Ullrich is saying he's here hopefully for a top 10 finish and to try and lift his condition for the World Championship. Well, this isn't a bad start because he's beating Abraham Olano to the line, and doing it very nicely indeed. And that second place to me will give Olano the next golden jersey. Wust is nowhere to be seen. We're going back now over 3 minutes as the next group comes in. This contains Laurent Jalabert, so he's a big time loser today, and we have not yet seen the arrival of Alex Zülle. Well, the consolation, of course, Sergei Ivanov comes in, the consolation for Jalabert, and this is Zülle now in the middle of the group. Consolation for Jalabert is that Olano will be in gold, but look at this, 5.5 minutes all but for Alex Zülle, a big loser today. You can never tell how Alex thinks inside. His face always looks the same. This rider, though, is very, very happy at his first win of the year. So Jan Ullrich will do himself no harm at all. This rider is now the leader, Abraham Olano. Ullrich will come up into second place, 10 seconds behind. Igor Gonzalez Galdeano in that group is now up to third, 15 seconds behind. And Frank Vandenbroucke today is fifth overall, 29 seconds back. Gone out of sight is Marcel Wust, yesterday's leader. And what a time for Olano to take the leader's jersey, because today he gets to start last as we stay in Salamanca for the 46.4 kilometers individual time trial, an event at which he is the world champion. This is Igor Gonzalez Galdeano, the surprise of the prologue. He started in the sunshine and set the best time a long time before the other men got to ride in the rain. It should be a different story today. And as he gets underway, we will go back now to watch the man who will be last to start in the race, and that will be the golden jerseyed leader, Abraham Olano. Gets the countdown. He's chasing none other than Jan Ullrich, himself a winner of the time trial at World Championship level, and certainly on his day as good, if not better, than Abraham Olano. And there's just that 10 seconds separating them overall, and ahead of both Ullrich and Olano is Gonzalez. He's already gone, we've seen him go. We'll catch a glimpse of Ullrich at the time check, and that'll be the first indication as to how well he is going. Olano staying out of the saddle for what is probably one of the few rises on the course. This is a very fast time trial course, perfect for the expert against the watch. Now let's go out to kilometer 27, because here is the arrival of Galdiano, and he's living up to his reputation built a couple of days ago. The best time here, 32:33.9, and only two riders to pass to that point behind him now. Here is the arrival of Ullrich, and he is going to go better, 31:53. What will Olano do? Well, Olano's coming through now with a flotilla of vehicles behind him, closing down the course. And it looks to me as though he is going quicker than both of them together here. And this is the situation then. At kilometer 27, a 32 seconds gap over Ullrich. That's enormous, frankly. And look at the gaps over Galdiano, Casero and Cuesta. Well over a minute to Cuesta. This man is on his day, that's for sure now. The golden jersey inspiring him. Here's the arrival of Casero, and he gets the best time for the moment, 55:49 for 46 kilometers. That is moving for you. But this rider is moving better than anyone. Tracked by the GPS system, we can see his advantage here, and it's now almost a minute over Ullrich. To take a minute out of Jan Ullrich is unthinkable, quite frankly. Now, Galdiano should at this moment come in with the best time, with two riders to finish. Here he comes, a big effort from this young man, 55:50. A good ride indeed. Casero goes back to second. Oh no, I've read it wrongly. Galdiano only second behind Casero. Now that is amazing, because he's obviously slowed down over the latter part of the course. Now what is Ullrich going to do as he comes in? There's no doubt about that one. Ullrich 54:29, a minute and 19 seconds better than Angel Casero. But I think this rider is going to throw it all to the wind now, as he seems to be flying up this straight here. Abraham Olano is going to get a real lead in the race now, as he's going to arrive with clearly the best time, and it's not going to be far off a minute better than Jan Ullrich. He's still kicking for everything for the line. 57 seconds, it will go probably be 58 seconds the gap. 53:32 the time for Abraham Olano. Now look at the gaps there, they've confirmed it at 57. Casero at 2 minutes 17, Galdiano at 2:18, and an excellent ride by Chan McRae, the American on Mapei as well. He was 5th. And a former winner of this race, Melchior Mauri, 6th. Cuesta down to 7th, and the entire Hamilton there in 8th. Well, the world champion in full cry here, and inspired by pulling on the golden leader's jersey only the day before, as he comes up to the line to get the time trial win. His overall lead looking a bit more realistic now, 67 seconds to Ullrich, 2:33 to Galdiano, 2:54 to Casero, and all except Ullrich are from Spain. And the tall figure of Abraham Olano bending down to receive the tributes of the day. So it's Saturday, the day before the big mountains really hit the race, and after the time trials and one mountain stage, the riders might feel like a rest today as they go on to León from Salamanca, 217 kilometers. And he must be feeling very pleased with the last 2 days of cycling, Abraham Olano, despite the fact that his teammate Laurent Jalabert has fallen a little bit behind the pace. But remember, this race is 3 weeks long, and we're only just approaching the end of the opening week. Once, as always, dutifully got control of the peloton here, as nobody in any hurry. This really, the only thing to stop this race finishing together would normally be the wind, and strangely enough there's hardly any wind today, and so we're quite likely going to see this bunch go right through to the finish. Well, Marcel Wust could be a candidate for victory because he knows the finish. He actually won at the finishing line here 1 year ago. The little group is off the front at the moment. One or two riders are trying to slip the field as they start the action. Rabobank is right in the thick of it. This will be Rolf Sorensen setting the pace there. And it looks as though Piccoli from Lampre is up there. Belli, the Festina rider. And I think it was Roscioli, Costa Almeria. In fact, it's bound to be Roscioli. He's a lone break expert and looks for the move that might take him to a stage win. But the riders here having a little bit more of a chat and a rest as they allow the race to continue in front of them. It's about 4 minutes up at the moment, that breakaway, but there's still plenty of kilometres left. Nice and warm today for a change. Gone now the memories of the early days when the rain was falling. Taking the field through there, Diaz Justo, the man who was on the escape with Laurent Brochard 2 days ago in the mountains. And number 4 is Jalabert himself, now a workhorse on the team. What a brilliant cyclist Laurent Jalabert is, the most consistent bike rider on the current circuit, world number 1 because of his consistency, doesn't seem to specialise in any event, rides them all and wins many of them. Now there's obviously a little problem here at the back of the race with Cesar Garcia, Calvo. Spanish cyclists taking the names of both sides of their parentage as we go around what appears to be a bull ring, and enough said about that. And now the field more or less together here, and I don't think we're going to see any more attacks. They've swept up those little breakaway group of riders. Now heading in to the finishing line here at Leon. And I wonder now if the Telecom boys can finally get control of the head of this bunch and guide their man up to the line. Lombardy has been so close, but clearly he's had a real shot at the finish and simply has not been quick enough to handle Marcel Wust, who's now searching for his 4th win of this year's Tour. Big tempo riding, and that big man again is Jan Ullrich. Never afraid to work, continually thinks of his training. He's not thinking of winning this race, he's thinking of a high finish. He keeps on reminding us now, is this to parry the blows that'll surely come from the press and keep the pressure off himself? Who knows? Still 2 weeks to race. Sprinter's delight today. Long straight roads into this beautiful city. And you'll see them sweep to a left-hand bend, and it's a lovely long straight. Sorry about this picture breakup, but we seem to have got it straightened now. Very difficult sprint to judge because a lot of riders here. Here's the left-hander, and it looks as though Telecom have got 3 riders there. Look at that for a sprinter's delight. They're all keeping to the right of the fence. The crowd watching the race go underneath them here as the road is cleared for what should be a great dash to the line this time through. There'll be no change overall now. Olano can think of another day, and tomorrow is the big mountain stage that everybody is fearful of as the Telecom now lead out. But that doesn't look to me as though it's Lombardi in there. It looks more like it's Danilo Hondo who's trying to get up there in second wheel as they fan out now. McEwen to the middle right and off to the far left in that whitish jersey is Marcel Wust. It's Wust-McEwen coming up to the line now. It's Traversoni, the Seiko man, right on the line. Well, I don't know. I just don't know whether Wust or McEwen got that from the angle we were at. It was very, very close indeed. Wust isn't exactly jumping with joy here. Let's see if we can distinguish here. It's Traversoni in the middle. He wasn't in on the hunt. McEwen is far right. Watch for the line now as Marcel Wust is aiming for win number 4. And Robbie is close, and Robbie's lunged early, but has Marcel done it right? Oh, it's agonising this, isn't it? Oh yes, there's no doubt now. There's no doubt that Marcel Wust has just claimed his 4th win and reached 12 in total in the Tour of Spain. And I think that equals the record of all-time stage winners, 12 for Marcel. And the race is far from over yet. No change, of course, in the overall classification. Abraham Olano retains his overall lead by 67 seconds over Ullrich and 2:33 over Gonzalez Galdeano. And we go on into the mountains. And what mountains they are indeed, because it finishes at a height of 1,580 metres at the Alto de Anglerou or La Gamonal. And the riders here are talking of gearing as low as 39 inside ring, a 26 tooth back cog. And can you look at this? Initially you might think we're looking at Alpe d'Huez, but this one goes on and on. It has climbs of 19, 20, 22%. Riders have been riding on this all year once it was announced as part of the route of the Tour of Spain. They've even brought out the old-timers like Julio Jimenez, Federico Baramontes to make the climb for the television cameras. This is likely to become the most feared climb in the world of cycling. And the riders face it at the very end today of 175 kilometres. And one man who won't be attempting it, sadly, is the American from Cofidis, Bobby Julich, out with an accident yesterday. It's not the only climb on the route either. We finish in a veritable car park. Hardly room to put everybody in the Tour of Spain, is there? We'll start with the climb of the Ventana, a second category 9-kilometre climb, then on to the Corbatoria, 9.2 kilometres, onto the Cordal, the second category one of the day, and this one is an ore category, which means it's the granddaddy of them all. A day for the climbers indeed. Forget the name of Marcel Wust, with all respect to that great sprinter. There are the teeth towards the end of the stage. They even start quite high up at 900 metres, but they'll go a lot higher by the end of the day. And as we're on flatter roads here, the Kelme team with 3 riders in the top 20 overall. They've got Heras best placed, 5 minutes 7 seconds off the yellow jersey of Olano. Fernando Escartin is 6 minutes, and Jose Manuel Uria is just 7 minutes in 20th place. This is the sprint at La Magdalena, and a small little group here now trying to work their way clear. Cuesta is in it, and he's highly placed for Once, number 2 there, in 5th place, 3:17 down. As always, the escape trying to be formed. Riders are suggesting gearings of 32 inside, 25 back. Others have chosen 39, 26 back. Either way round, it's steep. Well, what a way to end the day. I'm not surprised to see Kelme going out early here to try and hurt the Benestos, because surely now with the Once, it's going to become a little bit of an in-battle here amongst these 3 top Spanish climbing teams. Sorry about the picture breakup. We just popped under a bridge for a moment, but it looks as though we've solved it now. This little group, the first attacking group to get away here as we start the lower slopes of the first climb of the day, the climb of Ventana. And Kelme content to set the pace here in the hope that as the day goes on, they will launch their top boys into the thick of the fray. Certainly Roberto Heras and Escartin are the riders they will now count on. The weather forecast for the end of the day, by the way, is rain, and that is what the organisation fears most, because they reckon the hill is so steep they're going to have a job climbing it if the roads are wet. There's Jalabert. And this, the first victim of the day, Daniel Atienza, the Polti rider from Spain, is out. Well, it might be a little bit of luck, because he's now in a position to watch how everybody else is going to suffer on this stage. In kilometres, not so long, at 175, 106 miles or so. But that's about the only blessing of the day. It's quite a large group here now trying to steal a march on the rest of the race. The Benesto rider here sat at the back is Garcia Acosta, the tall man who's such a good workhorse. The main field with the golden jersey of Abraham Olano here is at 3:45. But early days yet. And he knows it. This man of great experience. We've been going just on a week now. And this opening week has been so kind to Marcel Wust, giving him 4 stage wins and presenting the golden jersey to González Galdeano, as well as Abraham Olano and Marcel himself. And just where are the challenges going to come from, one must ask for Olano. We've seen Ullrich try, but he's won a stage, but that's about it. He's dropped away a little bit. Today he must show his colours if he has any ambition of a top 10 finish, as he keeps telling us. They're starting to go into the mountains now. Garcia tagged on the back and waiting. Cuesta is the best placed rider in this front group. Still Jalabert willing to work now, having lost perhaps his chance at winning this tour on the first day in the mountains, which was stage 5, or the 6th day of the race. But they're such a good all-round team, Once. They'll always ride for the man who has the best position, especially when you have the talent and undoubted class of Abraham Olano. And Polti going out on the attack again, having lost one of their big riders today already. We've seen him in the car. A quick glimpse there of Robbie Hunter in this group. And sitting here right at the front for the Mapei team, a couple of Mapei riders here in the action. Nardello is 126. I think the other one was Fernandez Jimenez. This is the group now which is setting the pace. They are becoming the group to be chased down here. The Vitalicio rider also going through there. Now let's see just how well they go. Robbie Hunter probably a little bit afraid of what's to come today and anxious to get a lead over the field. Little Daniele Nardello, a good rider in his own right, of course. But perhaps trying to set something up here for team captain Pavel Tonkov. The main field limiting their losses. They know what they've got to do. As we climb now up into the clouds, which is rather interfering with our pictures. This is Robbie Hunter here. Brilliant day for him on stage 1. Gave South Africa their first ever victory in any Tour of Spain. And nobody will ever take that away from him now, despite what the day will throw at him. Clearly not a high pace in the peloton, as the gap goes up to 4 minutes 38 seconds. Pace remains reasonably high. It's a good move this by Cuesta, and the Once team takes a lot of pressure off Olano. Gap coming down, but not a great deal at all, hovering on the 4 minutes mark as they continue to set the tempo from the peloton. Benesto trying to limit the escape here. That's why up in the lead group, Garcia Acosta is not doing any of the work. Because Benesto, considering that Zülle has lost so much time, must be pinning virtually all of their hopes here now on Jose Jimenez, who won 4 stages last year in this race and went on to win for the 2nd year the King of the Mountains. So he at least should have no fear of the day. There's Nardello setting the pace, and that is Orlando Rodriguez, the Portuguese rider on Benesto. And it looks as though 1 or 2 now as we start to go up into the dampness of the high clouds here as the riders reach the tops of the peaks, and it's going to get worse as the day gets longer. Going up is one thing, but coming down when the roads are like this, absolutely treacherous. And I think we're going to have a little bit of a struggle to hold these pictures as well today. Now we're on one of the way down here. This is Sergei Ivanov, and the caption's telling us we'll have to go with it because it looks as though it might be the champion of Russia. He was up there with the front runners. Oh, and there's been a crash there because you can see somebody standing up. It's a Lotto rider in the ditch and wrestling to try and get his bike out of the ditch. Now our cameras realised it and stopped, so hopefully we'll get back, and there we are. And in fact, that is Abraham Olano way down below him, because this is Kurt Vandiver, who's gone. Olano is getting dragged out. How often have we seen this? It's not the first time Olano's been down there either. I seem to recall him doing it in a French stage race, but he's been hauled out, and he looks okay, surprisingly enough. But this is not a very pleasant situation for the leader of the Tour of Spain. Help is at hand. Kurt Vandiver looks okay. Well, a little not long ago before this crash, Vandiver's bike looks a bit of a mess. Not long before this crash, there has been an earlier crash to Fernando Escartin, and he apparently has been taken to hospital, so he's also out, and that is a serious blow for the Kelme boys. Olano up and running. He can expect to find his Once team waiting for him up the road, and I think they are. Ivanov is the only rider left of that escape group now. The rest have been wiped out, and Olano here. We're calling it the Olano group, but I think they may not realise that Olano isn't quite with that group just now. It's hard to know how they can keep track of all of the riders on a day like this. But there is Abraham Olano now, with a little bit of help too from his Once team. And that looks like Michael Zalabitia, who's giving him a hand. No sign of Jalabert now either. This little group trying to get itself up to the leaders again and back into the organisation, because that was not the main climb of the day, of course. That was only the first taste of the battle. And it's up to Olano to climb back in now without too much of panic. And it calls for a man with great experience here now. And it's saying 8 kilometres to go. So we've now about 2 kilometres, 3 kilometres into the climb now, which will take us La Gamonal, or the Alto de Angliru. And Pavel Tonkov is the man who's launched the attack. It's been set up for him by his Mapei team and the hard riding by his teammates today. Now, can Tonkov do it? It would be a real turn up for the Bucks if he could, because this could really lay the foundations, and Olano is going to have to try and chase him down. It has come to the point now where Olano is having to do all of the work himself here. At the end of the day, that's what you have to do if you are the race leader. Tonkov started the day 4 minutes 42 seconds behind Olano, and he's now pulling back big time on him. So it's going to be a very difficult climb for everybody now, as the crowd, they expected 500,000 people here, you know, and they might not be far short of that, because they are lining 10 kilometres of mountain. Just listen to the shouts for Olano. Tonkov keeping himself nicely under control. Roberto Heras, and I think that might be Jimenez with him. Well, Heras now the outright leader of the Kelme team, with the loss of Escartin, which he may not know at this point. Olano has climbed right through the groups here, and he's something like 5th or 6th on the mountain. This is Heras, and it was Jimenez. Jimenez, who's come to this mountain to train on it. Whereas Pavel Tonkov, normally a star of the Tour of Italy, now trying his hand at finishing a very good Tour of Spain. He's no stranger to winning stages of the Tour of Spain. He didn't ride it last year after he fractured his coccyx in August, and was obviously not in any condition to take part in the race, but he's back now, and he's back here with a vengeance. He's on the most revered mountain, and this is the first time a bicycle race has gone up it, as we are climbing up to almost 1,600 metres, and it kicks and rears every so often. That is Jan Ullrich here, and Olano continues to let the adrenaline flow. There's no reaction from Jan. He's slowly coming backwards from the sharp end of the race, Jan Ullrich. What he'll try to do now is limit his losses. He's still well up as far as the overall classification is concerned, of course, because there's an awful lot of riders. The cameras don't actually give you any idea how steep that corner was, but it was probably 25%. As Ullrich sat in the saddle, I think if he'd got out of the saddle, he'd have lost his front wheel. But Tonkov is climbing steadily to victory here. Absolute grim determination of the man who won the Tour of Italy in 1996. And the police have got their hands full here, holding back the enthusiasm of the Spanish crowd. These are the conditions the organisers did not want as they brought the race up here. But they'll be delighted by the amount of spectators who've turned out to watch the Tour of Spain coming to the top of this climb. A man who spends his life in Italy and who is a brilliant bike rider, Pavel Tonkov. I first came to know him many years ago when, as an amateur, as part of the Soviet Union's national team, he won the stage of the British Milk Race in Nottingham. Nobody had heard of him then, but we've all heard of him now. They're telling you he's 23.5% at this point. And I have to say that these guys make it look comparatively easy, don't they? Olano and Manuel Beltran, another man who's riding so well for Banesto. Alex Zülle, a long way down the mountain for Alex and not enjoying his day at all. He's outside of the top 20 climbers, that's for sure. And already lost time on the first day, so if anything, he's faring a little bit better as the race gets longer. This narrow road off to the left is a sheer drop into nowhere as we continue towards the top of Anglerou. The lowest possible gear now, and I wonder what gear he chose. Most are using 26 or 28 back sprockets. Those sort of sprockets you never talk about in professional cycling. Today we do. And this looks like the counter-attack is coming, because this is Jimenez. He's on his own, he's got rid of Heras. Now, no wonder the crowd are going a little bit beside themselves at 2 kilometers to go. Jimenez is veritably sprinting up this climb. This is an inspired finish now by the king of the mountains for the last 2 years. Laurent Jalabert was still the leader of the mountains today. That will change tonight. Superb effort by El Chaba. No sign yet, though, in front of Pavel Tonkov. We're racing into the mist. That will be in the favour of any attacker now. And here we are. Well, he's come out of the mist and he's found himself on the back wheel of Tonkov as the road levels just a little bit here. It's a bit of a strange finish now as we race into the car park. And it looks as though the leader, Tonkov, is going to be disadvantaged here because Jimenez, who's just joined him, I hope we can see them finish. There was rumour that they were going to finish this race lower down in the event of bad weather. That seems to have gone by the board. Somewhere in the middle of this lot are the two riders winning the 8th stage of the Tour of Spain. And then the clocks will start. And in fact, that is it. Can you believe that in amongst the cars, Jimenez has won the stage and Pavel Tonkov has finished in 2nd place. Almost 5 hours, the time for the day, and Spain have claimed the big scalp of the big mountain. Well, how fitting that the man who's been the king of the mountains for 2 years becomes the king today on La Gomonal. Marched away for a quick wash and then out to the podium, and now the clock has started and we want to see the arrival of Olano and to see if he's limited his losses enough to keep the yellow jersey. This will be Roberto Heras, who was with Jimenez. And this looks as though it's Beltran, also another good ride by Banesto, who will have done themselves a nice big chunk of team lead, I think, coming their way by the end, if they've got a third counter. Almost a minute has gone by as Heras appears. He gets third. Excellent ride for him. The new leader now undisputed of the Kelme team. The loss of Escartine today. And that's Beltran, another good ride from him. So often the right-hand man of Miguel Indurain, and now he looks after whoever, and he might have to look after Jimenez now. Now, where is the yellow jersey? He can't be far away. Abraham Olano was dicing in 5th or 6th place, about 2k down the mountain. He must surely be the next man to appear out of the mist. 1:38 has gone by. That's the shape of Abraham Olano. So he had a 4-minute margin over Tonkov. He'll conserve his lead. That's a great fight back. That's shown a lot of talent and depth in character for Abraham Olano today. As he comes over the line in 5th place, I make him. This is another Banesto rider, so they've got 3 men home. That's Pipoli, Leonardo Pipoli. And he will confirm the 3rd counter for the team. Looks as though he's just been out for a Sunday run. He's just over 2 minutes down. One by one they come home, and they're going to feel pretty tired bike riders by the end of this day. But I have to say that they have made this mountain a lot tamer than we all imagined. We expected to see bodies spread-eagled over it, walking and complaining, but these boys, and that's Ullrich coming in with Jose Luis Ribeira, the other Kelme rider, who's not just a good climber, but a pretty good sprinter as well. But he's not taking on Ullrich today. 2:44, I think the clock said. So Ullrich cracked a little bit, but nonetheless has come up with a good position there in 7th. And David Rebellin is in for Polti. That's the first of the Polti boys home. Just on 3 minutes for him. Galdiano, Igor Galdiano. And an Euskaltel rider just behind him. Santiago Blanco. Well, we're outside the top 10 now, so let's go to the podium, because already waving his flowers and his little mascot there is Jimenez of the Banesto team, who's going to feel very, very happy with his performance today, although there was that confusion at the finish, which has disappointed Pavel Tonkov. Olano, though, is still the leader, and Ullrich has hung on to his 2nd place, 2 minutes, 8 seconds back. Tonkov comes up into 3rd now, 2:58 off the lead, and Galdiano is 4th at 3:58 as the race goes back down the mountains. And we're now running across the top of Spain in an easterly direction, and this a ride of 186 kilometers, a couple of small climbs near the end, but it shouldn't cause too much of a problem. Certainly nothing like yesterday, as we're now on the 9th day, the eve of the rest day for the riders, and I think they've earned it this time around. Abraham Olano in the hot seat, but a small breakaway has got itself going here, and quite likely will stay away to the end, but we'll see. Working pretty hard in the group here. That's Laurent Jalabert, and this little group looking very workmanlike, because none of them are going to affect the destiny yet of the yellow jersey, which is still, of course, with Abraham Olano. And a group like this trying to get itself together. There's Olano all caped up because the weather started sunny enough at Gijon, but as we head towards Los Corrales, it is getting a little bit wet yet again. And it's these sort of days, I think, which wears on the nerves of the riders. They also fear a cold that might come in the next few days, and they're not showing any real interest in the escape here at all, which also contains the world champion Oscar Camazin. And there you can see the gap for yourself. Ralph Grabsch was the telecom rider. There is Camazin, just flashed through our picture. First time we've seen him since this race began, the world champion. Other members here are Jose Luis Ribeira for the Kelme squad, Nicola Micheli of Liquigas, Andrei Zinchenko, who rode so well in this race in the past and been very anonymous this time out. Sergei Uchikov, always a man to watch out for if we get down to the finish. A great opportunist. Gap still hovering around that 3-minute mark. And a long line now, so it's showing me as though there might be a little bit of interest. There's still 59 kilometers to go here, as Ribeira, a man who climbs as well as sprints, is first over the line in the sprint. The Metes Volantes. And it looks as though Lampre also taking an interest now. The gap at 3:07, and there's a small group. They're 30, just off the head of the peloton there, which is 30 seconds behind that small chase group. And that might be causing the reaction from the main field now, which won't all well for the breakaway. But I think if it does come back, it'll come back more or less of its own volition and a steady tempo by the bunch. They're not going to rip the legs off, I don't think, to chase them down here. Why should they? There's Alex Zülle, who actually has climbed up a little bit in the overall classification after that ride yesterday. And there he is, he's 29th now, 16 minutes off the race lead. But Alex, the most experienced bike rider, will wait to see what the next range of mountains bring him. This is where we are now as we make our way up the third category climb with 46 kilometers left to go to the finish. Wide open roads, a nice fast tempo climb this, but unfortunately we've gone back into the hills and the rain has rejoined us. They're not making any real progress on this breakaway. It's still at 3 minutes 10 seconds. And very, very gently round the corner for Ralf Grabsch there from Telecom. And I'm quite sure now Olano, Tonkov, Ullrich and Galdiano are all going to wait to fight another day. This will be what they will see as a routine finish. There's no point in stretching themselves now. And this is a counter-attack here. A big figure of Mazzolini, I think it is, who's having a little go. And the Brochard has gone with him. The low cloud and the trees are giving us a little bit of problems with the picture. Well, Laurent Brochard here, taking him on for a sprint for the top of the climb because he'd like his King of the Mountains jersey back, but he's going to have to win a lot of these now because the King of the Mountains has gone across to Jimenez, winner for the past 2 years. Now, are they going to try and carry on? This is the main field here, I think, coming up over the summit. Somewhere in between is a bigger group than that, or smaller group than that, rather. And Mazzolini looking over his shoulder to see if it's worth persisting, and we'll get a little look ourselves now, and I'm not sure it is. The rest of the breakaway coming back up to Brochard. 12 men forcing the move today. And at one stage, José Luis Ribeira of Kelme did become the leader on the road, but that's all over now. Oscar Camas in there trying to close it down. At one stage they got 10 minutes. It's now down to 4:29, so there has been quite a reaction from the field, although it's going out again at the minute as Telecom are doing a little bit of probably hampering tactics rather than chasing tactics with their man up front. And still the counter moves here. Ribeira going through, Camazind, Mazzolini. The leaky gas rider, I think, must have been Michele there. Massive crowd. The sport is on such a high in Spain at the minute. And the lead group splintering a little bit here as they try to sort out this next climb. And this is Frank Vandenbroucke here. Now Vandenbroucke is on the... He's come off the peloton because he was with the main chase group and he's got away on the climb. Well, this man, you can't work him out, can you? I can't really see the point of trying to rip away, not in wind like this, other than for the sheer bravado of the action. And he's now in the middle, where he's just going to spend a lot of energy and not either catch this lot or stay away from the field, I don't think. Over the top of the second climb of the last two of the day. Sergei Ivanov, the TVM rider. It looks like a little move here. Ullrich is also in on it, keeping an eye on Olano. Now these guys, maybe they've decided to chase down Vandenbroucke. I'm not too sure why, because Vandenbroucke is not a threat to the overall situation. But if Olano goes, then they all must go. And we've gone back up to the leaders here, who are trying to regroup and attack on the far side of the road. I think it might be Michele. As we line up for the finish now, one rider's gone. I thought it looked like a leaky gas team rider. No, it's not. It's Brochard. It's Brochard. Very similar colours, the new Festina rider colours. Laurent Brochard has caught them napping here, and there's no reaction. And this is going to be his first reasonable win since the Festina doping scandal of '98. And Laurent Brochard is putting that behind him now. He hopes with a victory here. He's making sure because he's dying all the way to the line, but that's enough. Laurent Jalabert snatches the victory at Los Corrales, and coming in behind, it looks as though the world champion is going to take second. He does. Mikeli is third. Zinchenko is there, and Rolf Sørensen will be the Rabobank rider, and that is Ribeira, the sprinter who really would have thought he would have won that stage and missed out on the opportunist move there by Laurent Jalabert. So he gets the win. And there's the confirmation of the order. Sørensen, in fact, finishing in 5th place, all of them timed 3 seconds behind Jalabert. Caught them napping that time around. 5 different nationalities crossing the line. And this is the situation now in the looking down still at the stage results. This is Ribeira got 6th, Ullrich 8th, Grabsch 9th. These were all in the breakaway, tailed off in the end, Grabsch and Mazzolini. So Laurent Jalabert with his trophies of Los Corrales at the end of the 9th stage of the Vuelta and on the eve of the rest day. And let's hope the weather alters a little bit, because it hasn't been too good right now. Olano takes a 2-minute 8-second lead to the rest day, with Ullrich second, Tonkov, Gonzalez Galdiano proving he's winning the prologue no fluke, as he lies there in a brilliant 4th place, and Heras best of the Kelme boys. Casero is 6th, and Jimenez 7th. So as we look at the Basilica, a beautiful building built in the 17th century here in Zaragoza, the capital of Aragon. 31 riders have given up in the Vuelta a España. 158 now make steady progress towards the Pyrenees. And I have to say steady progress because today it's 183 kilometres and we stay in the very windy area on a circuit based here in Zaragoza. No challenges other than the wind, and that in itself can do an awful lot of damage in a big stage race, as I think we'll see on this long straight road. This is a very traditional racing area here. Roads used many times in the racing season, and the riders are well aware of what the wind can do. A little breakaway has got itself clear of riders far down the overall classification. Jackie Durand is there again, Sergei Uchikov, Casagrande, Roscioli and Anguita. And there is the indication of the wind. This is the sort of race that the riders from the Low Countries love, and many riders who've got obvious strength just can't wait to get in the thick of it in these echelons. But for the others, it is a most unpleasant happening. And the peloton split into 2 distinct groups here. As the riders now continue towards the finish in Zaragoza. The rest day was held in very wet conditions. Many of the riders refused to go out even loosening up. And in fact, most of them, including Olano, stayed in the hotel and warmed up on the rollers all day. Now Roscioli here trying to break them up, and that's Sergei Uchikov who has come up on them. Roscioli and Uchikov, both previous winners of the Tour de France, or stage winners rather. And they've got away a little bit, but not by any great deal. This is the rest of the breakaway trying to haul them back in. And while the main field continues to split behind and chase them down, those 2 riders are still just clear of the field. And they're coming into the last kilometre to go here now. And Roscioli is in the best seat. He's manoeuvred Uchikov into the front. It takes me back, in fact, to the Tour de France at Revel in 1994. This is a similar situation with Uchikov and a certain Lance Armstrong. And Armstrong was beaten by the wily Russian. Or Ukrainian, I should say, I suppose. And Uchikov now looking in the whereabouts of Roscioli. Both got similar hairstyles, haven't they? Now Roscioli is far from the world's best sprinter, and although Uchikov is in the lead here, he is much faster normally than Roscioli. But Roscioli playing his cards right here, forcing the other rider to lead. We are looking at only a handful of seconds to the chase group, believe me, maybe 15 or so. You see, that was a feign by Roscioli to try and get a reaction out of Uchikov, who I don't think he even saw it, so he did nothing about it. Now they can both see the finishing line. They're going to leave it very late, and Roscioli, I think, is going to have to go first, and Uchikov is waiting for the jump. and then he's going to have to hold him off from the front if he can. They're taking this almost to the line here, these two riders. It would normally be a great finish for the sprinters, but the escapers work today. The day after the rest day, the day after the mountains, and the day before we enter the Pyrenees. And now Roscioli goes, giving it just about everything, but there's much more power in the legs there of Ullrich. And this is the man who's giving the TVM a result we expected a lot earlier from Jerome Blijlevens. Ullrich gets the stage win, his first of the year, and trailed in by Roscioli. Given the same time, the TVM Farm Frites boys will be happy with that one. Here comes the sprint for Jackie Giron ahead of Anguita, and Casagrande was the rider just off the pace. And they weren't far ahead of what looks like the main pack of the peloton here. And there'll be no change overall at the end of the resumption of the Tour of Spain today, as the yellow jersey, or the golden jersey, of Abraham Olano comes in. So Ullrich gets the stage win. He always lands a big one at some stage or other. Ahead of Roscioli, and at 13 seconds, Jackie Giron, Anguita and Casagrande coming in there at 16. Another cup. I don't know how they carry all these trophies around Spain. They get one every day. But Abraham Olano conserving, no change overall. 2 minutes 8 back to Tonkov, Ullrich rather, and 2:58 back to Pavel Tonkov. And looking there at Olano, you may have seen him cringe a little bit when he put his arm round the ladies, and there's a rumour beginning to circulate that he's suffering from injuries from that crash we saw him have when he went down that ravine on stage 8. Let's hope not. At the moment, he's still the clear leader of this tour. So in Aragon, Huesca is the start town. We're heading to a hilltop finish after 201 kilometres at the Pla de Beret. We're now in the Catalonian Pyrenees, and this is the first of 3 very rugged days indeed. This one itself not so bad. It really is a sting in the tail, but of course tomorrow we are off into Andorra and the famous climb of the Acalice. But from now on, you can expect Olano to be finding himself under pressure, and to see if there is any weakness there from the rumours which are circulating on the tour. There's the Pla de Beret at Val d'Aron. 8 kilometres of climbing to the finishing line today. And the peloton already in the mountains and making steady progress. And at the back of the bunch here, Olano is making no progress. He's had to have a bike change. That's not the way to start at the Pyrenees. He's got one teammate there willing to hang on for him and get him back into the pack. But that is bad luck for Abraham Olano. No idea what the problem was. But judging by the riders taking a natural break on the right, there's no big action in the peloton. So a routine change, I suspect. He should be back in there now. Emerging from the tunnel here. This is not the complete field now. This, in fact, is a small breakaway that has come together. There is no one in this group, as far as we know, who is going to do any damage at the moment to the overall lead. Alex Zülle on the far side. As we're looking here at the springing forward from that group now, another little section of riders as we start to face up to the 8 kilometres. And in fact into the final kilometre now, which is where it gets really steep, but the race has split up asunder. And these riders are trying to sort out the sprint here. Daniel Nardello is the Mapei rider in that break. This is the main race being driven on here, and I don't think Olano is there. These 4 riders are Garcia Casas from Festina, Peña from Vitalicio, he's in the red jersey. And the Kelme rider is Uria. And that is Uria in 3rd place now, as 2 on the inside goes Peña. But he's taking on Nardello. Nardello's not a bad little rider when he comes to a group like this. And it looks as though Nardello, with 150 metres to go, is shoulder to shoulder with Peña. The other 2 are fast tempo, but out of it, off the final bend now. Daniele Nardello for Mapei gets a victory in the Vuelta. Peña's 2nd, Garcia Casas will be 3rd, and here comes Abraham Olano. Now, there's been a lot of riders finished since Abraham Olano has come into our shots. You see the time gaps on the winner, And Abraham Olano has conceded around about half a minute to his main rivals, Tonkov and Ullrich. I think he's done enough to keep his overall race lead, but the gaps will have come down. First to the winner on the podium. Daniele Nardello gets the victory. Only a small trophy today for him, but overall there are changes now, and Abraham Olano is only a minute and 39 seconds ahead of Jan Ullrich, and there he is in his yellow jersey. He looks okay, but I'm not so sure he is well now because he cracked today. Well, today will show up any flaws in anybody's makeup. 201 kilometres, the riders now heading deep into the Pyrenees through La Seu d'Urgell, and finishing in Andorra, that beautiful principality, and right at the top of the climb of the Alcalis. It's a tough climb. Most of the riders know it, especially anybody who's ridden in the Tour de France, because that race was also finished at the same position. And it's a days of ups and downs. It's only a question of finding out who will be up and who will be down. The riders leaving the town of Sort for Andorra and to the top of the climb of the Alcalis, 147 kilometres. And the riders managing to smile. Even Marcel Wust here on the right of our picture with 4 stage wins under his belt. Not a day he'll be looking forward to, but he'll be searching for the autobus, no doubt, when the pressure goes on, and make sure he gets through to the finish. And it looks like Vladimir Belli there, and there it is. So he's already gone out, an early abandon. There'll be a few more to follow him today, I suspect, on this second day in the Pyrenees. The Tour now over halfway. Abraham Olano had one bad day and some extremely good ones so far, although he doesn't look like a man who's enjoying the day at present, and the climbs have yet to seriously begin. There's a group now containing Ullrich clear, nearly a minute and a half ahead of Olano. Now that should set alarm bells ringing here, because the climb up the Alcalis is a tough one, and Ullrich, of all people, knows it so well. And we've got Gonzalez Galdeano, and he is leading at the moment, and there he is. He got clear of the group. Now this will be a little bit of a surprise, but he's a Spaniard riding on neutral territory now, but he can expect all the cheers to come his way, I think, because he's the younger brother, by the way, of Alvaro, and he's having, well, an inspired Tour of Spain, to say the least, since the day he won the prologue time trial. This is Beltran on the left of our picture, and Peña. He's not going to do anything to endanger his leader up the road just now. Ullrich is in that little group behind. Olano is even further back right now. Back up to the leader, Galdeano. Beltran being left to do all of the chase up the mountain. This has become a little wall of attrition out there today, as these riders continue now to make their way steadily into the Principality of Andorra. He's gone very early on, I must say, Galdeano. He's not a rider that's been heavily marked, but you've only got to look at his reputation these last 10 days or so. He's never lost position in this race, as riders have come and gone around him. And now, with 18 kilometres to go, we are swinging into Andorra and onto the climb of the Alcalis. It's rather like the back road in to this little principality, which is nestled deep down in the Pyrenees between France and Spain. Casero behind in second position, the champion of Spain. And the weather chilly, but thankfully a little bit drier than usual, especially as far as this tour is concerned. It's the whereabouts, in fact, of Olano that one should become concerned with now, because the last check we got, he was some 4 minutes off the pace. And that Metas Volante, which is at the bottom of the climb now. And this is Gonzalez Galdeano concentrating with his earpiece, and no doubt a lot of support from his team. This is Igor. Started out well this season. He's only ever won 6 races in his career, and one was this year with the 5th stage at Tirreno Adriatico, which has given him a nice little boost. I think it's 5 races he's won, I think. No, 6 with the prologue, that's right. He's won the prologue, hasn't he? That's right, 6 he's won, and now looking for what I think he would chalk up as the finest win of his career if he could win to the top of this climb. But that's a tall order, as this little select group behind, which has got the king of the mountains in there, Jose Maria Jimenez. Also in there, as you can see, Ullrich is driving this one on now, and this is looking like the Ullrich of old. Remember when Ullrich took the lead in July on the year he won the Tour de France in '97? It was on this climb where he attacked it at the bottom and passed Cyril Vasseur and went on to pull on the leader's yellow jersey. He never looked back. And now he's trying to liven this group up behind here and see what they can do. Well, it's going to be a tough one, because this race is now spinning up all of the time here. Heraz is trying to shake them out a little bit there for Kelme, because poor old Fernando Escartin is watching the racing daily from his hospital bed now after that accident. Now, as far as I know, Tonkov is also in this group, so that really the man who is missing is the yellow jersey. It's been a difficult few days for him, I think, and he's hung on in there. Now we're going to find out just whether he has serious problems or not. Look at the crowd now as the Basque flags wave, as González de Galdeano really makes a name for himself now here on the slopes of Alcalis. And just now he's doing okay. The chase is around about 50 seconds behind him. And this is one man leading the chase, Jimenez. But it's all over, because he's in amongst the barriers at the summit now. As he comes up towards the line, the smiles on his face grimace now, but they'll soon turn to smiles. This is going to be the greatest win of his career. It is topping off an unbelievable Vuelta for him. It's going to put him right up there on the leaderboard. Time will tell the next few minutes whether it's a golden jersey waiting for him. Come on, he says, give me some more. He's going to enjoy this and throw away a couple of seconds, but it doesn't matter. So, Igor González Galdeano gets the stage win in the Pyrenees in Andorra. This is the little group that's coming up now, being led here by Jimenez, followed by Heraz, and the other man there is Leonardo Pipoli, who's also had his ups and downs in this race. He fell on the previous mountain stage leading into the rest days. Now he is trying desperately to get something out of this. Heraz, not really reputed as a sprinter, but at the top of the climb, it's who is the strongest, and this time it is going to be Roberto Heraz who gets it. On the line, the clock says 39 seconds, maybe 40. Jimenez and Pipoli is the order over the line. Looking further back now to the riders coming in here. This is Tonkov at the head of this group, and this might be the new leader of the Tour as well, because we haven't seen any signs. Ullrich is coming to the back of this group, so he could be the next man in the hot seat. As over the line, it's Jose Luis Ribeira who takes it for Kelme. They've had a great day, haven't they? And in that group, Tonkov and Ullrich, just over a minute back on the winner. But where is the yellow jersey of the Vuelta España? This is Santiago Blanco here, and it looks like Jose Manuel Uría is coming with him. Yet another Kelme man. They're beginning to enjoy their tour now. It's a long, long way to the finishing line when you're tired, but Blanco is not going to be challenged, I don't think, by Uría. He's happy to follow him home. No point in using unnecessary effort at this stage. They're only spinning for about 10th, 11th, something like that. Blanco crosses the line. And a little thank you very much from Uría. And looking down here, I think this is 8 Jose Oza, Eto Oza, who comes in. Well, we still haven't seen any signs at all as they present the prize here. Magnificent prize it is too for Gonzalez Galdian. Oops, now 1, 2, 3, and up you go. And doesn't he look happy? Here is Vandenbroucke bringing home the yellow jersey. And so we're looking at the clock now, and it's 8 minutes and counting. So I have to say that after some 12 or 13 days in yellow, Abraham Olano stops his watch on the line and will know that he will not be called to the podium tonight. He is indeed out of the golden leader's jersey, and the man who's got it, as he did in the Tour de France 2 years ago, Jan Ullrich, is now the leader of the Tour, and that, I think, for everybody is a big surprise.